Let's call the meeting to order. Five. Pull up the agenda really quickly. I know that we have, lovely, thank you. Has everybody seen the minutes from last meeting? Almost. Second. All in favor? Opposed? 2 seconds. I did. So I put this as old business since it was an agenda item last time. We're circling back to it, which is the precinct data. Have we gotten a chance to look over that? I know.
I condensed it. I forgot that I printed these. I sent an email probably like an hour ago.
Right.
So I basically condensed the giant amount into 2016, 2018, and 2022 because I didn't have a chance to get to the 2020 data. This is just a list of the lowest 10 precinct turnouts by year and then the highest 10 precincts. So if you wanted to do it, possible, if you love it. So sorry. And then I also sent a link to a Google map that I kind of started to play with some data in it. It's not as intuitive as GIS data. So if we wanted to pull it up, we could, we don't have to, but if we wanted to look at the geographic spread.
Right, yeah, and then one site condenses some of that more than the GIS, it's just.
Yeah, I know.
Really funny.
Yeah, I completely understand. I found some of this data in our historical stuff on so I just tried to start. Yeah, I figured this would be an easier way for us to look at the data that we were posted in, and then we have the entire spreadsheet as well. Yeah. I should email everyone a condensed version of this. That's on the design.
Thank you. It's nice to see it all in one spot.
If you have a single printed version of the map, also, I was gonna try and make copies so my printer was fussing. Yeah.
Yes.
Here you go. This is it.
It might be nice at some point to get the big ones, but the polling places all on there.
Yeah.
We can.
Which the Google map that I sent out does have the polling locations, the 2024 polling locations as a layer on it, so you can turn those off.
I do have a larger one of those in my office right now with the polling locations on there, so.
I know the Secretary of State prints those. I don't know if they cost anything or not. I'm not sure, but I can look into that too, because I work right up there, so I could grab it one day and just bring it down. Yeah, with us. Because we might want to mark it up and, do Dora things with it. Is there anything else with the precinct data? I know we talked about this with data, like we all sit here and make little comments about it, but it's really just kind of to keep in the back of our minds moving forward. It'll come up. There's like specific questions. Yeah. Yeah, and right now I think that with,
Thank you, Danielle.
yeah, I think right now without like a big map too.
Yeah.
Like, where's Bloomington 20?
I know, yeah.
It's kind of arbitrary. But yeah, I think it's good data and it's good to have, especially with. Past that, if you guys would like, and move on to, I know we have some folks here that have offered up some of their time to give us a presentation with Pace.
I did not, I saw that on the agenda, I saw the word presentation and kind of
Comments?
yeah, okay. Anyone have any thoughts on how a vote center, I don't know if you're all able to read the link and whatnot ahead, did you have any thoughts, questions, concerns as far as if we transition to vote centers, how you think that will impact IU students as well?
It's names of the.
Oh, yeah, for.
Okay, I'll go first. Pearl Bernard.
So I'm an IU student. I'm a junior studying criminal justice and poli-sci. I work within the political and civic engagement program at IU, specifically on their Big Ten voting challenge. I'm about a year and a half in. I'm here until November. I'll be leaving in December next year, but I'm here for this upcoming election. And then I also work with the League of Women Voters. But as an IU student who registers students to vote, I come from a city with voting centers, and it's very beneficial. And just in hindsight, like voter turnout and like our district is kind of funky where the IU lines are. It would make it so much easier for IU students to go out and vote when we have a centralized location on campus who some students can vote and some cannot. And getting that message out and having them understand that if they're registered in Monroe County, that only some of them can actually vote at the IMU. Some of them have to go out here, some of them have to go out here. And if we can eliminate that, or help alleviate that, it would be very beneficial on voter turnout with IU students. We already see a decrease in 18 to 24-year-olds in voting, so maybe that could increase in county. So yeah.
Would you say that confusion comes up a lot when you're registering folks? about
Yes.
Why they can't vote?
So we have a lot of people who come up to the table. They're like, oh, I'm registered back home, but I'd love to vote here. I feel like my vote would matter more here in Monroe. How do I register? Where do I register? Especially in the dorms, it's a little difficult for students to understand, like some dorms go to different locations. And I've had I have a full list. And like, I can tell you where Briscoe goes and votes. I know where AKL, one of the frats, goes and votes. But as many as infographics that I can make, they're gonna be like, oh, I see this one location, I think I can vote here. And that's gonna be also money wise, like Lyft, Uber. I know Monroe County now got both of those approved for free poll rides. But not all students know about it. So money wise, getting over to the polls, especially if they're off campus, is such a difficult task. And people are like, oh, it's so hard. On a day like this, I'm not gonna have a student walk over to the polling location and want to vote. It's just not gonna happen. So that has definitely been a barrier that we've been trying to cross. I offer car rides. The program, if you call us, we offer car rides. We give them the Uber, we give them the Lyft code, but it's never guaranteed. So make it way easier. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thanks. Do you have any other questions about IU registration? I can try that out.
Are there other barriers that students have to voting besides location and finding the right precinct?
It's just the uncomfortability of voting. This will be my first presidential that I get to vote in. I'm 19, I turned 20 in a few days.
That's exciting.
I know, so I'm super excited, but getting that barrier across in such a polarized world nowadays is really hard to, like, students don't even want to go out and vote for that kind of thing. I know plenty of my friends are like, oh yeah, I'm not even touching a ballot within 35 feet of it, like, it's cool. So that's kind of another barrier of just like trying to make it more acceptable to go and vote. Understanding how to vote. We use the League's Vote 411 site constantly. We also use TurboVote on registering to vote because personally, the Indiana website, hard kind of get people to register to vote on. There's a few more steps than what we use on TurboVote. So that's another thing. Also just making it exciting for college students. We're in a generation where taglines are really important, something that catches someone's attention really fast. I'm not gonna give a 25-minute spiel to some college student, they're not gonna listen. 30 seconds max. So getting students to register vote has been, but I feel like with this, it's be like, oh, you can vote here, 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 here. It's easier where they live. Some of the apartments down here on Morton and things like that are gonna bring more students to be able to vote.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm also involved in PACE and I'm also the president of College Democrats at IU. We do a lot of voter registration. I think that any vote center plan that is equitable for students must have like an on-campus vote center location on election day. I know when I used to live in one of the dorms, it was like a 3-minute walk from like the Indiana Memorial Union. But on election day, my like polling place was Bloomington High School South or North, which is like so far, and is not easy to get to. I had a friend here who it took him like 2 hours to just go vote because of how far it took, which is not very accessible at all. I think that this place could be used by both students and faculty, be really easy for students to just go vote on their way to classes. Yeah, I think that we should also have like a satellite early voting place on campus as well, just so it's easier. I know now with the current early voting location and with the hours, students aren't able to get there because it's during like the school day. Students have classes and it's not really that close of a walk from campus.
Thank you for coming.
I think someone is speaking, but I cannot hear now. Hi, this is Ami Gandhi, committee member. Is someone speaking now?
Yes.
I heard the yes, but I think I didn't hear the remarks right before that.
So, yeah, last November, I went to go, I do live in Collins, the dorm campus, and it has some of the most politically engaged, some of the most politically active students on campus, without a doubt. And that is such a big opportunity for the city to get more students engaged, students to go out and vote. Unfortunately for us, as Izzy said, our voting center was in Bloomington High School North. And for my friend and I, we had to wait half an hour for the one bus that takes us to and from. Ride another half an hour to the high school. Vote for 10 minutes, quick, easy, and done. But because it was so quick, we had to wait another 40 minutes for the bus to come pick us up. And then ride another about half an hour back to Collins. And that took up most of our day. So we were willing to do it. It sucked, for lack of a better term, it sucked. And that's why not a lot of us go out and vote too, especially like in Collins. And I know there are students there who want to, who know what's going on, but they just can't because it's too inconvenient. So to have those extra voting centers around campus or to move locations, at least from us to the IMU or whatever, would be so beneficial to boost voter turnout for students.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks so
I
much.
really appreciate everybody coming. Do we have more comment perhaps?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I will. Seems like the camera was freezing up. So I might ditch the camera because it was freezing up. My name is Ami. I'm on the committee. Thank you for allowing me to join virtually. I'm gonna defer to the committee members in the room to figure out if you want to direct this question a particular way, because I heard some of the conversation, but I don't know all the speakers by name. There was some conversation about early voting. And I wanted to ask, is there a recommendation that one or more of you have about where an early voting location on campus would make sense? I know you're not speaking on behalf of the university to offer up such a location or anything, but I think that's a natural next question based on some of the points that you made about student access. Whether it's about election day location or locations, but also I don't want the early voting location or location idea, location or locations ideas to get missed in this conversation either.
So election day is naturally at the IMU right off the Wittenberger. It's like a student lounge right there off the Wittenberger auditorium. Keep it there. Pace is fighting to keep the day of election place there because it is central to most students. Especially in Collins, I live in Collins, it's a 3-minute walk to the IMU. Most dorms are close, and if you don't have
you don't live close dorm wise or apartment wise, you're gonna be on campus, and keeping early voting or putting an early vote there would be so beneficial to students.
Is that for votes, for early voting as well as for election day?
Yeah, election day is already there. But it would be beneficial for early voting as well. Keep it in the same location. It'll make everyone who's working on voter reg and things like that be like, all students can go to the IMU and vote. Where we're like, oh, go to this weird location, like a good like 25-minute walk for early voting from campus, depending on where you are on campus. And be like, oh yeah, go down this street, walk for a while, you're gonna see this weird building. It's right there. And if you're not from Livingston, that building does not look like a voting center. Like, it's a very awkward looking building, at least to me. And it's not like in a conventional location. So yeah, I think IMU would be beneficial. Yeah.
Didn't you tell us, Kylie, the last meeting at IU was incredibly uncooperative?
Yeah, yeah. And then I do know that the reason that early voting is there is because it's directly across from the bus station.
Yeah.
So that was one reason that we had chose there. Because it is beneficial for anyone that is riding a bus. And if they're coming from the outskirts of town, then it's easy for them to come into town, be right there at the bus stop, walk across, vote, do whatever they need to do in town, get back on the bus and head out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use very uncooperative. We tried getting the marching 100 hall and we tried getting the football complex and we're deniable. So
I have a connection in IU football. If you haven't reached out to them. Yeah, I got a location, also marching 100. I know both the heads of the marching 100. So there's probably not either of them are gonna be very cooperative.
yeah.
I would talk to RPS. See if you can get into RPS. RPS is also very beneficial. You guys could put it in
Can you
like,
say what RPS is?
residential programming and services. It's like their IU's living communities. We could do it in like, I don't know, like the rules and regulations to all of it, but like forest, like the upstairs of like forest dining hall. Like there's a big like area that could happen in, or even like Wells, like the Wells Quad, which is like right off the backside of Valentine, if you've ever been to IU's campus. It's one of our big academic buildings. And then there's like Wells Quad is like beautiful, and like they hold like that STEM LLC and things in there for living. And that could be a really good location as well, somewhere like that, instead of doing it at like an athletics facility, which they're naturally a little more hesitant. They've been becoming a little better. We finally got voter reg into the IU athletic facilities, but it's still like a throw up. Yeah. Are there any other questions for those who came in or comments about vote centers on campus, vote centers in general? Yes.
So Pearl, you mentioned that you come from a city that has vote centers.
Mhm.
Do you have a sense of other students have that experience before they come here and then this is?
Just be confusing.
Yeah, I was confused, because when I started vote reg here, I like jumped headfirst into it, and then someone gave me a list and was like, oh, by the way, all the dorms, different locations to vote. And I was like, what? Because I go to the same location every year because it's not busy from where I'm from. And it's like on the outskirts of town, and it's a little library, but no one goes to it. And I had no idea, like I could just go to any library and like vote down here. Or the library in general, like the libraries back home are all vote centers. So that kind of threw me for a loop. But I think I've never actually talked to anyone about like voting centers, but I have had a few students be like, so like, why is there it's only one location? I have had that question before, and we try our best to explain it, but it's never been like concrete in an explanation before.
Do any of the rest of you come from places that have vote centers?
Yeah, I'm originally from Hancock County and we have vote centers there and it's really beneficial just because everything is so spread out in the county. I'm not sure what it would look like if it wasn't a vote center county, because I can just go to the library, go vote, and then just come back, and it's really beneficial.
Evan, did you have a question?
Yeah, so currently does Bloomington only have the one early voting location?
Yes.
Is there something that stipulates that we can only have one for the city? I can,
Not 100% on that.
I can answer that. Any other place, for a while, I think 2008, 2010, and 2012, they had rotating vote centers, or not vote centers, but early voting. The problem with that is the cost, transferring that. So we look for a place that's centrally located to everybody. Because if you put it on campus, then people in other places, why don't we have one? Why don't we? So this way, downtown's as centrally located as you can get from Monroe County.
yeah, because Kylie, what you were saying about the bus station makes sense.
Yeah.
But I still think, like you guys were saying, that may be just enough of a barrier for students not to want to go vote early. So I was like, what would stop us from putting one on campus or within walking distance of campus, but then also have, the convention center for, all this.
Just the cost that is restricted. The number of them.
That and also the confusion of, is it here, is it there? Can we go both? Can we not?
Staffing,
Yeah,
Right.
that as
So,
well. That's a
Again,
huge
staffing's
right
been
there.
real bad with early voting recently, just being able to keep hours.
if we had one on campus, we probably would need to have about another 8 in the county
Yeah.
for early voting constantly. So we're what is it per location? $2,000 per precinct in a location or something like that?
Yeah, it's right about.
So I mean, we're probably looking at close to $50,000-$60,000 more.
Yeah.
I grew up in Evansville and they are Vanderbilt County is a vote center county. They've also had multiple early voting locations for a very long time. But I think I looked it up, there's something like 4 or 5 this year. And they have states that are different, right? So you don't have to have, you wouldn't have to have one early votes location necessarily be open the entire statutory window the state permits the county to operate in. And that's certainly a choice. And I feel like there could maybe be a compromise hatched out on.
I know that we had made a comment about that. The only thing was confusion again. So like if this polling location's open only this day from this time to this time, and then a different one's open on a different day at a different time, then we run into the same thing. Because within our county, there is a majority of our voters are more the elder group. So for us, it's harder to be able to get this information to them. And if it's just on a postcard, most people are gonna just throw it away. And so if we have the dates with different locations and different times, then it's gonna start leading more into confusion. And that was one thing that we had brought up and then decided not to move forward with.
I will say too, I don't know how much purview this committee has over early voting in regards.
Done.
Yeah, because a lot of it's just day of voting.
It's very
However,
strange
if
for
there's,
me.
so
Yeah.
I'm not able to, I don't have permission to turn my camera on, so I apologize. It's a little hard for me to jump in here, but I mean, want to strongly caution against any kind of insinuation that we need to set the bar low here when there's not anything prohibiting, consideration of more access. This is some of where we've gone around in circles before as a committee. And if we're to make recommendations, including about the possibility of an eventual reduction in precinct-based polling places, it has to go hand in hand with the conversation about what are the other options that people have, including in-person early voting. So it is highly relevant to the question that was asked a couple comments and questions ago about, is there anything limiting us to the one early voting location? And that is very intertwined with wherever we land on as a recommendation for in-person, possibly reduced voting options for election day. So I just want to say, I want to uplift that question to keep our minds open, including about in-person access for early voting, which there may need to be some greater expenditure for and it doesn't necessarily need to be just one or just two. It's on us to make the recommendations that we can have confidence in terms of what we think would be fair for voter access and not to be
Yeah,
constrained only by cost.
I agree with that. I think it's important just to keep it as an option, as a recommendation, not that we can actually implement it, but that we would strongly recommend that that be considered.
Right, yep. And the other thing I think is that we could have some, like one early voting location for the first 2 weeks of early voting and then have additional, that would just be that last 2 weeks before the election.
There are multiple locations open later,
Yeah.
rather than a rotating one.
Right. Yep. So could I get your name?
I'm Tim.
I also think going back to the early vote, having the one, I know so many IU students won't touch public transit. We'll touch IU transit any day of the week. We understand it. Bloomington Transit runs funny. It takes forever. Like he said earlier, like it took 30 minutes just to wait on the bus to come because there's not enough. So I get getting it by transit. It makes sense for those on the outskirts of Bloomington. IU doesn't do well enough with public transit, Bloomington Transit, for students to want to. They're uncomfortable. I've gotten lost on public Bloomington Transit, and I go to DC and their transit's wonderful. I absolutely hate Bloomington Transit. And for lack of better words or anything, if you're not from around here, it's hard and it's scary, to be frank.
Any other comments for the committee? By the committee.
I'll ask a question. Does anyone, yourself or in conversations that you've had with prospective voters, can you think of any barriers for transitioning to vote centers that would impact students?
No, honestly,
No,
I can't think of
for an audible no.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know if you were trying to throw a wrench in at us. No?
No, I just wanted
Okay.
the
Confirmation that
that nobody can, okay.
anything else? I don't want to move on unless everybody's spoken. We good? Any questions for the people who came to speak today?
Or anything else we should know about students and voting and.
I'm not trying to ask anything else of you. I'm just trying to exhaust the topic before we move on.
And these are public meetings all the time too.
Come back anytime. I'll be
As
here
well as
every other
the
week.
election board, yeah.
Every other week.
The second and fourth Wednesday of the month.
Yeah, and we're gonna bounce around, which actually is the great segue into our next agenda topic, which is those kind of bouncing around. Yeah, we'd like to host. Yes, yeah. So to rehash kind of what's been spoken about in previous meetings about hosting these meetings in other places other than in just this building. I know we had talked about going into small communities like Unionville, Ellettsville, go on campus and have a meeting and have them more as like listening session type meetings where people in those areas can come and we work with our partners in the media and the parties and League of Women Voters to try and push it out as much as we can to let people know that this is happening where they are. And so I think now we're looking to gather maybe some of these areas that we're looking to host these meetings in. Because I think it was a very well recepted idea by the committee. I think everybody really liked the idea of going elsewhere. And then the second part of that will be, we have to find locations that will have us. But if we get a good list of areas and maybe some locations within those areas, we can start to do that process.
So I just to ask our people who are here speaking as representing students. How did you decide that you would make the effort to come talk to this committee? What driving force did Emily use?
Well, I think most of them are very involved. The question's for you guys.
I'll go ahead. I'm an employee of PACE, Political Civic Engagement. Mark Fraley's out of the country, and I thought, who else better than his student employee, who is his right hand, to show up and make a little noise. I'm always willing to show up to things like this. I think student voices are important, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that. So on behalf of PACE, I think we would love to have you at IU if you guys would be willing to come and speak. I can't give a guarantee, but I know I run our socials and I can push it. And I think it would be great, especially if we could get the Democrats and the Republicans to come sit at the table with us at IU, be able to host a cool event with you guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of people in our club are registered to vote in Monroe County, and they've been frustrated with not being a vote center. And it just makes it a lot easier for when we're registering people to vote and getting students to turn out to vote in general. Because we think that if we become a vote center county, then we will see the difference in the young voters turnout. Definitely become higher because there's a lower level of entry.
Yeah, just my driving force being here is just from personal experience, as I've said. I would rather not have that happen again. And I just, I mean, I don't know, all the rules and regulations and the nitty gritties that goes on with, voting and all that. I'm not an expert, but I just want to reiterate that, there's a lot of difficulty with voting for students. I just wanted to reiterate that fact.
Thank you all again.
Appreciate it.
It's really great. Hopefully we'll have a much larger turnout as well with the campus.
I think.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, the PACE community turnout.
Make it stop raining.
Nice. And just so you guys know, we're looking at like right as next semester starts, so nothing like too quick, because we've already planned meetings out like through June, and we'll wait till like August, September timeframe. So yeah, that would be beneficial for us because we're getting events planning. We're doing stakeholder meetings, paces. We want people to come in, be able to speak to students about voter education, coming out to vote, and to see, no disrespect to everyone that's not a college student in the room, but somebody that's not a college student being like, hey, you should come out and vote isn't very beneficial. So having that like community built with both ends of the spectrum is beneficial for us, so. Meeting location. Anybody have, I know we talked about Unionville, Ellisville, campus. Those are the three I know for sure that have
I
been.
would say Harrisburg too.
Harrisburg is one. Just making my list.
What do you think about the Van Buren area?
Yeah.
That's the fairgrounds, maybe.
Yeah, that's out in that area. Trying to, all of our little regional spots that we have, that would be. Down there by the lake, that's Polk Township. What do we call that? By Lake Lemon? No, Monroe. Monroe. I would say Unionville would cover by Lake Lemon. It's. Yeah. Polk Township, there's a name. For that like little region of the.
Now that the location for voting is Burgoon.
Yeah, but. See if Burgoon would let us, I loved it.
They have one voter that votes at every.
Yeah, I think I've been to Burgoon. I try, one William Moore and I tries to make it down to Burgoon at least once every election day, just to see how they're all hanging in there. Yeah. Ellisville, Unionville campus, Harrisburg,
Clear Creek area.
that's Clear Creek. Yeah. That's it.
That's not to the lake yet, though.
No.
No, that's like right above, yeah. We'll put them
Maybe the
together.
magic term you want is Fairfax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bean Blossom,
Washington,
Steinsville.
yeah. And there's Washington
Mhm.
and then Perry and Bloomington.
Yeah, we're gonna trim it down.
Yeah. Those are gonna be fun.
Hertzburg, Clear Creek's the same.
Mhm.
I don't know, it's Indian Creek.
Yeah,
Indian Creek.
Perry.
For a listening session, I'm thinking, honestly, that's a good enough location.
Yeah,
to
down there,
Indian Creek, you know,
down there. So Harrodsburg on the left side there.
you know, Steinsville and Ellettsville, kind of the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we combined Ellettsville and Steinsville, we combined Harrodsburg and like the Clear Creek polls. And since we only have one voter in that whole area, yeah.
Well, more than one, but
I think
one that's
right,
voting
one's
every.
active. One active. I think there's 10 registered and 1 active. That's why we struggle on that township finding people to run.
Yes.
Yeah. I think 5 is a good number. What do you guys think about 5? Are we missing?
Sounds good.
Did you? Tell me the 5.
So Ellettsville / Steinsville.
Yeah.
Unionville. Campus. Harrodsburg / like Clear Creek area. And then Van Buren. Bean Blossom I put in with the Ellettsville, Steinsville.
Got it.
Yeah, and maybe we try and have it in the western part of Ellettsville, or northwestern part of Ellettsville. Yeah. To try and cater and get some of those folks too.
Al and Ami, are you hearing all of this?
Are we missing anything? Don't let us miss something.
Thanks, Al.
It's all on you, Hal. All right, yeah, I think that you're looking at the map. Are we covering it?
I think so. I will say I'm newer to the Bloomington.
That's okay.
But I think we are.
Okay.
I think also if we as a committee wanted to just look through the lowest voting districts and make sure that they are being covered in some way, at least in proximity. I think that they are actually, it looks like, I've just been looking at this, the majority of them are actually campus. So
It's, yeah, it's a weird little Bloomington
Bloomington
precinct.
137.
Yeah, Polk is
Yeah.
low. Yeah.
Harrodsburg's
Harrodsburg's honestly kind of low, yeah, too, that area.
So a lot of, like, all the the lowest 10 are Bloomington, so most of them, not all of them, most of them are Bloomington, and on campus, in the campus area, so.
But isn't this just by percentage of registered voters?
It is actually by percentage of, people who voted in comparison to active voters.
Right, so it's not just raw amount of voters because,
Correct.
yeah, I know from other precincts, I'm not seeing them on here at all.
Right, and these are just, again, the top 10, lowest and the top 10 highest.
But not in raw votes.
No, by percentage is.
But for active,
Active to,
yeah, I guess.
exactly, yes. Which also, the data on the spreadsheet that I emailed out should have the raw data of like active voters as well.
I think we're covering all 4 quadrants kind of plus the city. And what we're doing. Anybody have any locations that we could potentially have these meetings and it's where the connections come into play, guys.
Schools and libraries are good starts.
That is a good start. Ellettsville, I know, has a library. So that could be,
Probably use the town hall too, if you want a little bit more western of the library.
okay. Town hall might offer up more space.
It will.
Van Buren area would be good with fairgrounds. I have a couple connections there that I could talk to. And then if not, Highland Park and Grandview are the 2 schools in that area, which are 2 of our voting locations. So both are accessible.
Yeah, that's another thing you have to look at.
Accessibility and making sure it's accessible to all voters.
So Unionville,
Danny, you're trying to shine.
The school is cooperative, but also they built a really, depending on the time of the year, they built a really nice amphitheater by the school. They spent like way too many $1 million for something out there, but you know, but it's a nice.
And they also have a township office over there too. Yeah, it's the community, like a community building.
Yeah.
So maybe if the school isn't open to it, ask them. Harrodsburg.
There's the Harrisburg Community Center.
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best.
Yeah, it's like the trustee's office in it too, right?
Yeah.
And she would let us use that, I would think. Can ask.
Yeah, I just talked to them today, so they're pretty easy going with anything that we ask them.
Yeah, and be reaching out to like the trustee, reaching out to the trustees in all these areas might not be a bad idea too, just to have maybe them
A little bit of communication going out.
whole community aspect, right?
And on campus.
Yeah, and canvas, all right. I'm glad we have our campus folks here, yeah.
And well,
Yeah.
Wells Library, not Wells Quad.
oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I meant Wells Library.
I wasn't sure either, guys, was right.
Yeah.
And that would be accessible, and parking there is decent.
After 5.
Yeah, it's not, they have those paid spots there and,
We get to see about getting like a certain
So we can get our passes.
guest passes.
yeah, that's the only thing I always worry about, like with on-campus stuff, is parking.
I and you would probably be your office, but to get, first off, waivers for parking, because of the huge parking lot right there.
Yeah.
It's all accessible. There's tons of parking right there, right? Also, if you get student orgs involved, we can rent out a space. So, and like,
Yeah, that's right. Yes,
so we have like, if we do like a sponsor thing or something, we could do that. Also like Woodburn. That's where Poli Sci's hosts, you know, a big room up in depending on how many people show up, the Poli Sci building on the second floor. There's a big conference room up there, so we could do something.
But that's less accessible.
There's parking right there, Highway parking right there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, yeah. IMU is more recognizable than Woodburn, especially for students.
And there's a lot more room options and things like that there that we might be able to. And I think if we do all this early enough, we shouldn't have too much issues. Especially on campus scheduling into next semester. Who wants to schedule this? Like how do we want to delegate this off? Do we want to do it by like? What would be the most official way to go about doing it?
Would you rather be in the school at Unionville or outside?
Inside, because you don't know.
You know, whether it's
The covered facility.
I also don't know what, yeah, we'll need to get like a time frame.
If I had it, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be happy to talk to them.
That might take
Dave, the children come.
Take care.
Danny, do you want to do Unionville?
I'll be happy to talk to them when you tell me I'm free.
I can talk to Ellisville because we'd have to pass a resolution, use the town hall, but
Okay.
that shouldn't be a problem.
Sketchy people on that.
Yeah.
And I can reach out to the Harrodsburg folks.
Are we thinking that these will be, again, Wednesday evenings, second and fourth of the month?
So those have to be public meetings. So
That's my thought behind it, is that they would be, we just move the location.
I just gotta make sure with county attorney that it's okay that it's not Zoom accessible.
Or we'd have to make it Zoom.
Yeah, we could make it Zoom accessible. Other people have Zoom that we could.
Yeah, that is very true. We'd have to check with with the locations. to make
Yeah,
sure
Wi-Fi.
that It's an option.
Would we use Teams then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Teams, not Zoom, sorry.
Yeah.
But I mean, as long as they have.
As long as somebody is able to
Right.
like set up.
Mhm.
a laptop, iPad, something.
Right.
Yeah. Because Cats joins and then they record from there to post it, so.
And I don't know how to leave it, but that stuff you just plug in, so I don't know how
I would have
that to use or not, but
I don't know
we
for
could take the
sure.
camera with us as well and
I would have
we're
to
allowed
get-
to.
I'd have to get with TSD. I don't know how much on that because they normally come and set it up, so.
No worries if we can't.
I'll get some more information on it.
Cool. I'll put this on the agenda to revisit next time as well. Looking at a rough time frame. We've kind of scheduled these days, as we're calling them, through June. So we could potentially start doing some of these, going out in July. I know we wait till students are back to do the one on campus, but that doesn't mean we have to wait. Yeah. And we may be able to do the outskirts perhaps before students get back. And before the election gets super crazy, because I know that's probably going to be a factor for all of us at some point. So
Van Buren one probably will have to wait until around August because the fair will be in July and then students will be out of school, so the schools will more than likely not be accessible. So I would say probably closer to August for those, for Van Buren.
Okay.
So then it would just be figuring out when we want to do IU versus Van Buren.
and Unionville could perhaps be the same issue. I don't know what availability looks like when they're not in school versus when they are.
It's probably easier if they're in school.
Yeah, okay. We can knock Edwardsville out and Harrodsburg out then, before school gets it back in. So that's 2 for July.
If you get me a date in July, then I'll put it on the next agenda.
Okay. It would be either for our July meeting dates.
How long's this big?
Hi, what's up?
We can't hear you.
You have him muted or?
No. He's unmuted. He's a presenter, but it's not.
Al, we can't hear you.
You can type it in the chat if you'd like.
No, chat's turned off.
It says turned off.
Oh,
No. We're working on our end here.
send an email now. We're trying.
Do interpretive dance.
Oh, Paul, is it gonna?
You love us too. We love you too.
It's on his.
Hurts. All right, it looks like the July 10th and the 24th are the 2 July dates, so maybe give them both of those and then whichever one they can't do, we'll ask Harrodsburg for.
Who cares, but it would probably be beneficial if you guys could wait until the first week of September. Or like the week of September for IU, just because first week of classes is the 22nd, I believe, of August. So that would fall like really weird on like first week of classes, like that meeting, like the 26th is like.
Yeah, I was looking at, September 4th is what I was gonna ask for.
That'd probably be beneficial, just so we could get to the first week.
Our meetings are the 11th and the
Oh, I'm
25th.
sorry.
Yeah.
Then the,
As a side.
That's helpful.
yeah, I was steering clear of that week.
Yeah, the 28th is our meeting that week and definitely went to it then next week.
One of our favorite classes.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have been. Okay, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, okay, I can't hear you anymore, but that's okay. My suggestion was, as long as you talked about the fair and the Ellettsville Fall Festival, those would be places where we could also take input from a huge number of people on these issues. Just something to think about.
Good point.
Yeah, like just tabling at the end.
Yeah, yeah, and I have connections on the Fall Festival, so I can get a hold of them and see if maybe they have a couple more booths open, and then I can see about possibly using some of voter reg money to put towards that rental of that booth.
It could double as a voter registration booth as well.
Mhm.
So you could still get that.
Yeah.
Out of it. Which is good for communities like that. I don't feel like there's a lot of voter registration happening.
Right.
The more outskirt parts of the county too, so that's good. I think that's a rough, I think that's,
I'm kind of on Bloomington. Except for campus.
Right.
There are people who are not associated with the university in Bloomington who might have thoughts about vote centers.
And we could do it in this room and just be a little bit, have more like
or the
targeted.
courthouse.
Yeah.
Less than an hour.
About getting a room up there.
Yeah, we could always turn this meeting.
Or we might use one of those dates when in the summer, when there would be. There'd be more people, but there'd be probably fewer students, but be some townies still around.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously you would be invited to the campus one too, depending on where you are in the city. That might be closer for some than others. But yeah, I mean, I foresee us having a lot more of these as part of our meetings. Going forward past this is just the, let's come to you portion of it. And I suspect that a lot more Bloomington residents will be able to come to the regular scheduled meetings than perhaps those in like Ellettsville or Harrodsburg. And so I think that, but I'm not opposed to transforming or moving the meeting like this.
Some kind of an outreach.
Yeah.
Because Emily did a great job in getting people.
Yeah, my
voice
like my idea, I would love to just like create a list of these that we eventually just turn over like Dave at the B Square meet again. And then, the parties can push it out and say, okay, if you live in this area, it's this state, and go here. Live in, and have them all. Perhaps be part of that.
Danny, who takes care of the rental of the booth during the fair for election?
For Monroe County or for?
I think it's Monroe County. I don't know if you knew about.
Yeah, I have her
Knew
name.
on that one or not.
I'll have it. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
I can give it to you.
I mean, it's fairgrounds.
Yeah.
During fair, the one booth that's back towards the back.
It's a good idea. It's getting good.
You mean,
There's one booth normally that's towards the back on the right side that just says like Monroe County elections. And then there's the Republican booth and then there's the Democratic booth.
I'm not familiar with that one.
no, I thought you meant the person who like did the booth, like
Outside.
who you reached out to get us. Yeah. I don't have that.
That's between Republican and Democrats booths.
I think there's nothing.
Yeah, I've never seen anything for elections there.
That's
I mean, I could be wrong.
an option too for getting input is the fair. Yeah. See if you're going with that.
So if, like the fall festival or something, would we be staffing this location? How would we? Yeah.
We would definitely want somebody from here to be there, and then I would talk to on our end to see if there would be anyone voter reg wise that wanted to go and be there to help take care of that, and then see if we have anyone that would volunteer to go out and help with actually registering voters to get into the system. So we would use it as like a multi-use, but primarily I would want it more for vote centers so that we can get more interaction with the community and be able to get more information. Because those are two very highly trafficked events. Or definitely walking through those booths be a great opportunity for us to talk to the community.
So that's a maybe at the time. That's time to be.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that. Is there anything else on the topic of these rural meeting locations? They're not all rural, I don't know why, but with that on the agenda. but-
Sure, satellite.
Satellite, that's a good one. Good, yeah. None?
there any committee member comment or update? This is the little spot we have in there for especially like our people representing people to say anything. That IDD, legal from voters. That's normally. Is there anything from the election board, Ami? No, that they've had a meeting since then. The last meeting.
No, there's nothing from them. Ralph, please weigh in too if you'd like to share any update, as I know you attended the last meeting as well. I provided an update about this committee. The last election board meeting, which was last week, was pretty packed. So I think they were interested in us kind of keeping it streamlined. And they thanked us for our service. I think it's been an ongoing conversation there, and sometimes as a side conversation about absences or if there needs to be a substitution or proxy in any way on our committee. I'm not saying that's needs to be our first priority, but that has come up in that space a few times. And Ralph, is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Tommy did a really nice job of sensing the mood of the room, would you say, Kylie, and being straightforward and.
Yes,
Yes. Telling them
keeping it short and letting them know what they need to know.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys doing that. All right, with that, do we have a motion to recess or I mean, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Lovely. See you guys in a few weeks.